Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. So, I don't have a particular topic for this episode this morning. I did have something come through just in doing that introduction. So I guess we're going to talk about what it means to be a high performer. So I was on a run last week. There are certain weeks throughout the year, throughout the month rather, in which I feel like a little Energizer bunny and I can do all of the things very, very quickly. And I was on a run last week and I was reflecting on this idea of being a high performer. What does it actually mean to be a high performer? And so for high performers, if you are a high performer, you're probably listening to this podcast. But if you're new to my podcast, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new to the YouTube channel, hello, right? So a high performer is somebody who is driven. Somebody who tends to achieve more than the quote unquote average person. And not for I don't know that there's really a particular reason. It's just kind of part of our DNA. I remember having this conversation with my brother one time when I think I had signed up to do a half Ironman, I think is what it was. And I said something to my husband about it and he was like, "Oh, okay." And I called my brother because I was annoyed by my husband's response. So I called my older brother and I was like, "What the heck? Like, why is this not impressive to my husband? Like, what do I have to do to impress him?" And my brother said, "It's not that it's not impressive. What you do is very impressive." He said, "But at this point, your husband probably expects this stuff from you, so it's not anything new, right? You did a Ph.D., you've got 4 kids, you've done marathons, you've done triathlons, you've grown all these other businesses, right? Like, your achievements are no longer a shock to him because it's just your MO." And I was like, "Oh, that's actually an interesting take on that. Okay, I'll allow it," right? It's kind of where that went. But it was interesting to me because on my run last week, I was thinking about all the stuff that I had already done by 8 a.m. And I am a morning person through and through and through. I can stay up late sometimes, right? But I'm usually, especially in the summertime, if the sun is up, I am up and I love it, right? But I'm a morning person. I like to get things done before the rest of the world wakes up. And it's just how I've always been this way for as long as I can remember. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've slept past like 11 a.m. Even in college, that wasn't a thing that I did. And so being a morning person allows me to actually be super productive. However, there's a difference between being busy and being productive. And I guess that's where this podcast is going now. So being busy is simply doing something for the sake of doing something, right? So there's this busy energy and my mother has it. Just full disclosure, my mother has it. She has a hard time sitting still. She feels the need to constantly do something, partly because she had been told her entire life that laziness was the work of the devil or something like that, right? Like, you can't be lazy, you can't be bored. And so she's always doing something. But those things aren't always productive. And there's a difference here. So busyness is doing something for the sake of doing it. Productiveness is doing something towards an end goal, right? Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, but she's cleaning the house or I'm actually doing laundry and that is productive. You're right. You're right. However, if you're doing something simply because you can't stand to sit still with yourself, that's busyness. Or because you don't know what else to do with yourself, so you just decide that you're going to start cleaning all the baseboards in the house. That is busyness. So it's more the intention behind the thing than it is the actual thing that you're doing, right? So when I wake up, I know I'm going to have a productive day. because I'm going to get stuff done, and I'm probably going to do it very quickly so that I can have time to sit and read a book, to work on the books that I'm writing, to do some creative content, to spend some time actually sitting and enjoying lunch instead of eating lunch while I'm also working. And so there is intention behind the things that I do and a focus there so that they're done, and done not simply for the sake of doing something. Does this make sense? Is this landing? Okay. So why do you want to be productive versus busy? Well, busy is just filling the void. You're not actually crossing anything off the list. You're just, we're going to go there today, I guess. Busyness is ignoring the feminine. Okay. Productivity is honoring your masculine, right? Your masculine is so excited to just do something and get it done, right? Masculine energy loves to be done. Your feminine energy likes to be present. Okay. Now, let me differentiate here, because there is nothing wrong with being busy. If you have extra energy, because sometimes I do have extra energy, that I will be busy simply because I can't actually sit still. Not because I don't want to, but it's because I can process more when I'm doing something. And so when I'm in my garden, right, that's a great place for me to go when I'm feeling this busy energy. I'll go in the garden and I'll just process my thoughts, right? It's a release of energy here for me, is my busyness. It's a release of that energy. Now, I don't want to confuse you all. Because there is the difference between the busyness and the productivity. But for me, I know the intention behind it. And that's probably the most important thing, is the intention behind it. When I'm busy, the intention for it is to process something. I am processing an energy that's stuck, or I'm moving through things, because I will constantly coach myself. And I like to have those conversations when I'm moving my body. I do a lot of it while I'm working out, running, swimming, biking. A lot of the time I can process that stuff with myself during those things, especially if I'm doing a longer bike ride. Some of the really funny things come up in a long bike ride. It's almost like I've pushed through the resistance at some point, and then all of a sudden there's all these breakthroughs that come in, right? But there's also the productivity, because I know I can be super productive and then be present the rest of the day and not be worried about things. Productivity is being able to essentially close those windows on your browser when you're done searching for something, right? When you've completed a task, you close out the browser, you shut your computer for the day, you're done, right? The busyness is the constant moving. It's almost an avoidance. And I've gotten better. It actually is an avoidance. I've gotten really good at knowing when I'm being busy to avoid, or when I'm intentionally being busy. And that is the biggest difference here, because so many of us use the busyness to avoid the emotion. I remember I was sat down one day and I was absolutely avoiding the emotions that were coming through. And I sat down in my bedroom, and the light was hitting the window in just the right way that I could see all of the streaks on the window. And because in the moment I wanted to avoid the emotion, I got up and I started cleaning these windows. And my windows pull down, and so you can clean the outside of them without actually being outside. You can clean it from the inside. So I was cleaning these windows because I couldn't stand the streak of it anymore. And I was 2 windows into it, and I stopped myself and I said, Stephanie, you need to sit down and journal this. Stop avoiding it and sit down and journal it. And so I sat down reluctantly, begrudgingly, and I started to journal through the emotion. And it didn't take me long. It was about 5 minutes and I was through the emotion. But it was funny that I had spent legitimately an hour avoiding the emotion that I moved through in about 5 minutes. And just to have that awareness is really powerful, because oftentimes we just use busyness to avoid the emotion instead of facing it head on, instead of having a conversation with ourselves about the thing that's coming up, right? So when it comes to productivity and busyness, there is an absolute difference, and it's based off of the intention behind it. So what is your intention in the thing that you're doing? Are you avoiding an emotion? Are you processing an emotion? Or are you in your masculine being really productive because you're like, boom, I'm going to get this done and then move on with my day, right? There are differences here. And so paying attention to your emotional state and your intention when you go into something is really important. Not only does it help with your productivity, but it does help with your emotional health as well. And so I know for me, when I'm productive, it's because I'm in a really great emotional state. I feel really clean, really aligned. My energy is clear. And I know that my productivity and my focus is going to be incredible. And I can sit down and I can get so much done, again, in a very short period of time, because I have that focused, clean energy. When I have energy kind of stuck and all this other crap, I find it hard to struggle. It's not to struggle. I find it a struggle to focus. And it's simply because I have some energy that needs to be looked at, some emotions that need to be, paid attention to, whatever it is. And so when it comes to being a high performer, the reason I'm able to be a high performer is because my energy is actually quite clean when I sit down to be productive, because I know the intention behind those things. So I hope that all made sense. If it doesn't, please let me know, and I'll be happy to clarify. I'm a little bit on, there's no extra emotional energy, but it was definitely a chatty Cathy kind of a moment. I told you I came on here without a clear set plan, which is really interesting for me, but nevertheless, we're here. It's great. So I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you.